Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of The Extra Point here on ESPN 1600. As always, I'm your host, Roland Rainey. As always, I have my fellow colleagues, Robert from New Jersey, Jeremy from Indiana, and Justice from the great state of New York. And today we have two special guests. And trust me, folks, they are special. We have Mike Manor, a.k.a. West Coast Mike, and we have Steve Jones here as fans of the Extra Point, but also to give us their pick for the Super Bowl. So, big Sunday coming up, fellas. But what I want to find out from all of you is, who are you picking? Who are you picking right now to take the Lombardi Trophy home? So, let's go ahead, and I'm going to purposely start with West Coast Mike. West Coast Mike. Who's taking that Lombardi Trophy home?
Well, I appreciate being on. I mean, what an honor to be with this crew here and be able to talk about the Super Bowl. So before we even get into it, I mean, I think we should give thanks that we're even talking about a Super Bowl. So really happy that the league put the protocols in what they did and the players did what they needed to do and the coaches so we can actually be here right now talking about it. But I'm going to have to go to the land of the barbecue, to the Midwest, and I'm just going to have to go there because of speed. So I'm going with KC. I'm going to stand by Mahomes and go with the young crew moving up just for one word alone, and that's team speed. After watching what they did to Buffalo and what they've been doing all year long, it's just tough to contend with that much speed on both sides of the ball. So that's my pick, Kansas City.
Kansas City from West Coast Mike Manor.
Gotta go there.
Wow, Kansas City. Now, this is going to be quite interesting, folks, because what I have is another fan who's on, and this fan is wearing a Kansas City jersey. So I'm going to make some assumptions here that their pick is going to be Kansas City. So, Steve Jones, talk to me. You got the jersey on. Who are you selecting to walk away with the Lombardi Trophy?
Look, it goes without saying, sir. I'm going to pick the Kansas City Chiefs. Tom Brady is the GOAT. I can't take anything away from it, but I've got the youngest MVP, and it's about to be a back-to-back Super Bowl winner in my main man, Mahomes. All right, we've got the defense, we've got the offense, and Andy Reid is no joke. You can't come up against him twice and not expect him to figure out the strategy.
All right, so Steve Jones, a fan of the Extra Point here on ESPN 1600, is going with Kansas City, and of course, West Coast Mike has also stated the same. So let's head out to Indiana. Jeremy, what's your take? Who's walking away with the Lombardi Trophy this Sunday?
Well, I've been going back and forth on it. I'm not going to lie. I really like both these teams. You know, that there's no ifs, ands, and buts why they're both in this game. They've both, beaten the best to get to this point. However, it comes down to, I think, who has the best quarterback, and I think that's Patrick Mahomes. He is the best player on the football field this weekend, and I'm going with my Chiefs.
Wow, he breaks out the signed, autographed Kansas City Chiefs football. All right, let's swing it over to New York. Justice, talk to me. Who's walking away with the Lombardi Trophy?
Yeah, I'm right there with Jeremy. I've really been racking my mind about this whole week. These two teams are great. I can't say enough about Tampa Bay's defense. Devin White, that kid is special, man. But I think West Coast Mike, he hit it on the head. I think the key is going to be speed, and Tyreek Hill, he had over 200 yards the last time they played in the first quarter. And I think I could see a similar performance this game. I don't see any of those corners staying with Tyreek Hill. I think Travis Kelce gives him some problems. I would love to see a big game from Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's kind of been quiet lately. I would love to see a breakout game. I'm going with Mahomes, the young gun, the gunslinger. I respect Tom Brady. He's the GOAT. He has the accolades, everything like that. But I think it comes down to Tyreek Hill, and I think that's the MVP.
Wow, here we go. We're 4 for 4 for Kansas City. All right, let's swing it up to New Jersey. Robert, who's walking away with this Lombardi Trophy, Robert? Talk to us.
Yeah, Roland, I hate to upset the apple cart, but I'm actually going to go with Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in this one. And the reason why is, just like Justin said, we did see this preview in Week 12 early in the year. And, Kansas City came out victorious with a 27-24 victory. However, you stop Tyreek Hill, I think, Todd Bowles is going to win this game on the defense side of the ball. And that's the way that Tampa Bay is going to win this game. We know Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce is the main focus of that offense. But I tell you what, I really think Tampa Bay has the pieces on the defense to kind of contain them. And that's all they have to do. They don't have to shut them down and stop them. They just have to contain them. And yeah, they can't give up 200 yards to Tyreek Hill in one quarter. But I tell you what, I'm pretty sure Todd Bowles has schemed something in that secondary to get everything going back. Antoine Winfield will be back on that bill. And I tell you what, one of the main pieces on that defense for Tampa Bay moving forward is Vita Vea. He's going to free up those guys on the edge, and JPP and Shaquille Barrett. And we all know to win the game, you have to rush the passer, and that's what this Tampa Bay team has. So I'm going to go with Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Tom Brady is going to get another Super Bowl.
Before I jump on Robert's bandwagon, I want to swing a question back to the Kansas City Chief fanatics. I'm going to call them fanatics today because they definitely had a lot to say here. I'm curious on why you truly believe that the offense and its speed is going to be so high powered against a pretty relentless defense in Tampa Bay. Let's swing it over to let's go back to Justice. What are you not seeing with Tampa Bay's defense that you believe is going to allow Kansas City to push the ball down the field?
Well, I agree with Robert. First off, I think Todd Bowles, he's going to make adjustments. They're probably going to double them all game. But, first off, Carlton Davis and Jamil Dean, they have played phenomenal this year. Under that Todd Bowles defense, he really thrives with those two long corners on the outside. And they're physical long corners. But when I think of Tyreek Hill, running vertically, no one's catching this man. No one's containing him. They have to double him. And when they double him, they're going to go underneath to Kelce. And let's not forget, probably the most impactful play from last year's Super Bowl was Sammy Watkins when he burned Richie Sherman. Sammy Watkins is coming back. He could have a breakout game. They're talking about extensions, and he's going to be one of the X factors this Sunday, along with Chris Jones. I know Stevie J is rocking the jersey. Chris Jones has got to get after Tom Brady, but Tyreek Hill, I just don't see those long corners, being able to stick with them.
You concur with that, West Coast Mike?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's no knock on Tampa Bay's defense. I mean, they have an exceptional defense. They've got great playmakers, but I mean, the amount of playmakers on the Kansas City Chiefs offense, I mean, it's just tough to contain every single one of them. One of them's going to break free. They're going to have a chance to make a play, and I mean, take your pick. Tyreek Hill is a real clear choice of somebody who can make those plays happen. Trust me, as a 49ers fan, I still remember, I think it was fourth down in eternity, and somehow Tyreek comes down with the key play in the fourth quarter that really turned the tide of that game. So, I mean, you can hold them for so long, but it's tough to hold them all 4 quarters.
Jeremy, what is it about Kansas City that will allow them to penetrate that defensive line of Tampa Bay, but more importantly, to extend the field? I mean, how do you see that playing out?
Well, I thought Mike made a really good point there. At some point, Kansas City will have an explosive play. It's just a matter of when. Justin said Sammy Watkins could be a guy. I actually think McCole Hardman could be a guy that really puts the fear into their nickel corner with Sean Murphy Bunting there, a guy who's been known to be a little grabby at times and has struggled when turning and flipping the hips and covering people down the field. I think that's a big X factor right there. And one of the reasons why, initially in the week, I had some reservations about picking Kansas City was, well, they're down to two backup tackles starting in the Super Bowl. So, like Robert said, you have JPP, Shaq Barrett, guys that have been getting after the passer all year. The one thing I love about the Kansas City Chiefs, Andy Reid and halftime adjustments. I don't think there's anyone better at tweaking the offense after something has or has not been working. I really have a lot of faith that Andy Reid has got some things schemed up that Tampa Bay has not seen before, or is going to really force them to cover, all blades of grass on the field, so to say. And at times this year, there have been times on defense where teams have stepped up and stopped Tampa Bay. I have not seen anyone completely shut down the Chiefs. The closest thing to it I think we saw was the Dolphins game, and the Chiefs still broke out late in the game and still ended up putting like 35 points on the board. That's ultimately why I'm going with the Chiefs.
So I definitely hear everyone's point, and all the points are well taken. Kansas City is just a well-oiled machine, and it's a fast machine. So, yes, at some point in the game, something will always break. But I will go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Barrett and Pierre-Paul gave Aaron Rodgers a fit. And what is going on right now with Kansas City Chiefs offensive line? There's a lot of injuries. So I got a feeling that you will see Bowles unleash that defense, much like they did earlier in the regular season, much like they did in the NFC Championship. They will try to isolate on Mahomes. Now, all you need to do at this juncture is to take away one weapon, whether they take away Kelsey or whether they take away Hill. Now, what do I think they're going to do? They will take away Hill. Why? Because Kelsey will find himself staying in to take care of those speedy edge rushers a lot. So I got a feeling what you will see is going to be more a game in the trenches than it is going to be flying down the field. There's only one caveat I see to this, and that is if Mahomes decide I'm going to put this game on my shoulders the entire 4 quarters, and I'm just going to run. To me, that's the only way to break away from those edge rushers. So I do see Tampa Bay walking away with this one, not necessarily because Tom Brady is going to throw up 400, 500 yards. I think it's going to be won by the defense. So, ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to The Extra Point here on ESPN 1600. Definitely want to thank our special guest that we had on today, Stevie J, who was representing number 85 Jersey Jones. He's a major Kansas City Chiefs fan. He's from the region, and he's definitely rooting for his folks. So thanks, Stevie, for joining us today. And West Coast Mike, of course, he's on, but he's also going with the Kansas City Chiefs. As he stated, it's all about the speed. So we're going to go ahead and transition into another topic here, and I think we're going to go ahead and keep West Coast Mike on for this second topic, and that's the major trade that has taken place. Now, before we jump into this trade, I want to set kind of the foundation here. You have a Detroit Lions team that's definitely going through a restructure, and you have a Rams team that didn't do bad during the regular season, but could have done a whole lot more. Goff had some ups and downs throughout the year. But the Rams send a third-round pick for 2021, 2 first-round picks, 2022 and 2023, and they send Goff. On top of that, they will eat $22 million against their cap for Goff. Having said that, Robert, was this the right trade at the right time?
If you ask me, Roland, I think yes, it is the right trade at the right time, and I tell you why. The Rams right now is in win mode, and right now they have the defense to win. We saw the Rams in the Super Bowl a couple years ago with that defense. Jared Goff played a little bit better that year, but I tell you what, Matthew Stafford is an upgrade from Jared Goff. So if you can have the offense, going out there and competing just like the Rams defense, that's a good recipe for early success. And right now, all these teams want to win right now. They don't want to win down the line. It's win mode right now. And I'll tell you what, I know Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields and Trey Lance and Zach Wilson are the guys that's coming out the draft at the quarterback position, but at their career right now, they're not better than Matthew Stafford. And we saw what Matthew Stafford has done on that Detroit team, that really lacked talent, especially when Calvin Johnson retired. He still put up major numbers. So putting him in a Sean McVay offense, being backed up with that running game with the young running back in Cam Akers and that defense, I think this is just a recipe for success. And I'll tell you what, the Rams is definitely an early favorite for me to make a Super Bowl run, the next year.
Justice, you kind of had that look on your face like, what in the world is Robert talking about? So what's your take, Justice?
Well, I agreed with Robert's first half. It's definitely the right trade for the right time. They have the defense. They have the offensive weapons to make a run at the Super Bowl. But when he said recipe for success, that's where he kind of lost me. Because the Los Angeles Rams, they have made it clear that they're willing to part with draft picks to bring in these proven guys, which is all well and good. But right now, they're in cap hell. Their cap they're under the cap tremendously right now. And that $22 million they just ate from golf, that's not going to help. When you talk about building a franchise, you build through the draft. The Los Angeles Rams have been building through trades, and that may keep them in the hunt now. But you look down the line 2, 3, 5 years, they're going to be struggling heavily. Their roster is going to be completely depleted. If you want to build your team, you take from the Kansas City Chiefs, you take from these other teams that you build through the draft. That is the only way you're going to succeed long-term in the NFL. And while I think the Matthew Stafford trade was the right move at the right time, those first-round draft picks, they're going to come back to haunt the Rams. And I'll tell you what, this franchise could be in trouble down the line because their roster is going to be completely depleted. They're not going to have any draft picks, and they're going to be in cap hell for quite some time.
Jeremy, do you agree with Justice?
Well, I swear, I think the Rams are allergic to first-round picks. They have not made a first-round pick since they traded all their draft capital to move up to take Jared Goff in the first round back in 2016.
Right.
So, this is right on par for them. They just don't want the pressure of taking a guy in the first round, Forget the evaluation period. Let's just trade for a proven guy. No, but in all seriousness, I think Detroit I think they definitely won this side of the trade. They get a young quarterback. Stafford's 32. Yeah, quarterbacks play a lot longer in the league today than they did, 10 years ago. But they got a young quarterback. They got 3 draft picks out of it for a team that's clearly, they've been rebuilding for 20-some years. So it's at least they're giving their head coach some ammunition to go out and try to build a roster and shape a roster in his image. I do think getting Stafford ultimately does help the Rams. I agree with Robert as they are in a win-now mode. They have a good defense, Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, a bunch of other guys who contribute. But then they have the majority of their offense locked up, too. They have found an offensive line that worked this year. They had a 3-headed running back system this year, which is always great for a quarterback. They've got Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods locked up long-term. They don't need a whole lot more, but I agree with Justice where they're really going to start hurting is depth. What happens when they get a critical injury some area and they could have used that draft pick to shore up, an area of need of depth or a guy that they need to come in and play right away. So while I think it was the right move for the Rams, I think they gave up a little too much.
So let's swing it to our special guest today, West Coast Mike. What do you think about this trade?
They've got to win now. The Rams, they've gone all in. This is their move. I was thinking back to when the Broncos went all in with Peyton Manning and what happened there. There's an example where you had a great experienced quarterback who'd done a lot of great things, but no offense to Stafford, but he's not a Peyton Manning, right? So two great quarterbacks, but not the same. One injury away. That's what really makes me nervous about it for the Rams. One solid hit, one injury away, and you've got nothing there. All your plans have all been gone. Detroit, on the other hand, I think they come out of this really good in a good spot. They're trying to rebuild. They're trying to bring in some young talent and some new talent. So I think this really was a great move for Detroit. I do think the Rams will benefit. I do think they have an opportunity to win early, but the pressure is going to be on them, no doubt about it. They've got to perform now.
So I'm definitely with all of you, and here's where I draw some concerns for the Rams. And I think one of you have already hit on it. One injury away from it all tanking. And let's be honest, Stafford has a history of injuries. So heaven forbids if he gets an injury at a key point in the season, whether that's late in the season or maybe even midpoint in the season where a lot of those wins would really count for something, I don't think his health is probably worth what was given up. Now, for Detroit, yes, you're in total rebuild mode and you got all the chips going in your favor. You have a new general manager. You have a new head coach. You have a new quarterback and 2 first-round draft picks for next year and the year after. You are definitely primed to make some good things happen. You got a young running back who's still learning a whole lot in Swift. So, and I think he's going to be a great running back as he continues to learn the system. So I think the Detroit Lions are in a great position to make some waves in the next couple of years. What I fear for the Rams, if Stafford gets hurt, who do they go to? I don't know, Robert, who do they go to if Stafford gets hurt?
That's a great question, Roland. I definitely share all you guys' sentiments when it comes to Matthew Stafford and his injury history. But I tell you what, Matthew Stafford is one of the quarterbacks that's going to play, through hell and high water. He's played, multiple, seasons through injury. And I tell you what, and that was on a bad Detroit Lions team. So I'm pulling all the chips in front of the table, just like the Rams did. And in regards to this deal, banking on Matthew Stafford is going to play through, injuries, whether he's nicked up and banged up, and he's definitely going to be behind a better offensive line than he was in Detroit. And he actually has a running game to kind of lean on with Cam Akers, Malcolm Brown, and those guys out there. And I'll tell you what, with Sean McVay and his coaching acumen, I don't think he's going to put Matthew Stafford in vicarious situations where he's going to risk the injury history that he's had. And he's going to, Matthew Stafford is going to be Matthew Stafford, but he's just going to be Matthew Stafford on a better team. So he's not going to have to do as much. He's not going to be, back there throwing 40 times a game. He's not going to be back there throwing 35 times a game. Some games might require him to do that, but that's not going to be him moving forward with this, the Los Angeles Rams enter that system under Sean McVay.
Hey, definitely points well taken. I guess time will tell to see how this one plays itself out. But if I'm the Detroit Lions, I'm beyond ecstatic because my future is bright. If I'm the Rams, like you guys said, I'm in Vegas right now, and I'm down to my last $100, and I'm walking out of the casino, and I'm dropping it on the table, and I'm saying, put it all on black and let it ride. We'll see what happens here in the future. But hopefully here on the Extra Point, we'll be bringing you those updates. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to the Extra Point here on ESPN 1600. And once again, want to thank our special guest, Mike Manor, a.k.a. West Coast Mike. And by the way, the reason why he's called West Coast Mike, he's a huge San Francisco 49ers fan. So thanks for being on with us today, Coach. And, of course, to the rest of my colleagues, as always, bringing you the best in what we know in the NFL. So before we wrap up, I'll leave you, West Coast Mike, with the last parting shot.
I'd just like to say thanks for having me on. I love the show, love what you guys, the energy and passion for the game that you bring every week, and it's a thrill to be able to join you guys and talk about exciting time coming up, the game of the year. So thank you very much for having me on.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I'm your host, Roland Rainey. Enjoy the weekend, but more importantly, enjoy Super Bowl 55.